for the next round. G'day guys, welcome to Spacies Arcade. As you just saw, a lot of my games are now gone. And I'm sitting here today in a virtual arcade behind me because all my machines are not here. Well, maybe not all of them, but a good portion of them are now not in the house. So what have I done? Well, you saw a whole lot of arcades being packed up and being taken away. The biggest thing for me was a sensation of I've just got too many machines, and gosh, this hobby, guys, like I can't believe how it consumes you. It really does. I'm a person. I'm not compulsive. I like to get into things and do things well, but I don't feel I'm my OCD or anything. But the arcade collecting has crept up on me, I must admit. Like I've started with my own home built machines, and then slowly it's crept in, and I've got more and more machines, and the passion has taken over, which has been a great thing. There's been absolutely nothing wrong with that, but comes a time when all of that starts almost caving in on you when you've got so many machines, and especially now that they've actually spilled out of the arcade and they're in the living room, they're out on the deck, they're in the garage, and to the point where I can come home at night and I've got to squeeze past an arcade chassis or a carcass of a lowboy to get through the door. You open the door and there's more arcades you can see in the house, and you come down the hallway and you can see arcades in the study, and then of course they've got the main arcade room. It's sort of like you look at it and you go, is that too much? Is that too much for a normal person? and look, at the end of the day, it's not about being quote normal. It's about living your passion and doing what you want to do regardless what other people think, right? But for me, even my own tolerances, I'm now thinking, you know what, there's something amiss. The balance is wrong. So I started looking at everything, guys, and what I want to do now is I want to walk you through the existing arcade as it was, because today is a big reveal on a massive change. And in some ways it might not look a massive change to you, especially if you've joined the channel just recently, or maybe this is the first video you've watched. You may not see it, but please realize that there is weeks actually of time that's been involved in moving everything around to get to the current state that everything is in today. So massive change, guys. So the first thing I want to do is let's have a look at the arcade as it was, and we're going to have a look at it. We're going to go around the room very quickly in the way it was and just talk about these arcades very quickly, just so that you can get a bit of a sense of what my feelings were at the time before I made this momentous change. And we're going to start with the Sorcerer. So we had the Sorcerer in here, and the Sorcerer of course was a great pickup. It's been a lot of work going into that. More work has happened since then. I need to update you guys actually on a lot of things that have happened on the Sorcerer. It's now actually running, it's got score boards going and stuff, so I need to update you on that another time. But that's a game that needs to stay, and it needs to stay in the arcade. So I don't know if it needs to stay exactly where it was when I was looking at everything, but I knew that it had to stay in the arcade. The next two machines, a staple of the arcade, always have been. I've gone on about them a lot in terms of the Sega Astro City and the Sega Blast City. Again, the vertical, huge 29-inch screens, CRTs for the vertical shoot 'em ups and any other vertical games I want, horizontal on the Sega Blast. Just great way to play games. Those two cabinets have to stay in the arcade. But then we get around to the World Rally, and the World Rally's always been a bit of an oxymoron for me. I picked this cab up pretty earlier on in the piece as I was starting to collect. I had a lot of space. When I look at it now, guys, it's an APB cab, but it's the LAI version of the APB cab. It's not quite the same dimensions. The APB is not a game that I aspire to recreate and restore back that cabinet to. However, it's an iconic cab for sure. The cool little seat that sits out the back of that is actually a really nice way to do driving games without taking up a lot of space. So it's a cool cab from that point of view, and it's one of those ones again that it's like I don't want to get rid of. I don't want to sell it, but I don't want it in the arcade and it's taking up room, and I don't want to put it anywhere else in the house because there's just no room, guys. So that machine for me in my head has to go somewhere. The next one round is the Super Sprint, and guys, the Super Sprint for me, if you recall, it was one of my grail games. So much passion for this game, and yet I found myself looking at it going, wow, it just takes up so much space. The amount of opportunities that I've had to actually have sort of 3 players wanting to play that particular game at once has been next to nil. And I've always had fun with the Championship Sprint, which is the 2-player version rather than the 3-player version, right? So, you know, I was looking at the Super Sprint going, really, why have I got that in here when I really should have the Championship Sprint in here and just have the 2-player? And, you know, it's a more intimate gameplay. If you've only got 2 people over for the Super Sprint, it's really hard because it's like either someone goes in the middle and someone goes on the side, which is really weird, or you both go on the side and you're sort of miles away from the screen. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So again, it's not one I want to get rid of though, because if space changed and the circumstances were different, it would be a machine that, yes, I would want to set back up. Right now though, it doesn't have a place in the arcade, and the Super Sprint has to go. The next one along is the Virtual Pinball. The Virtual Pinball actually has excelled recently. I have reset it up, and we'll do a video on that another time and some of the subtle changes that I've made, but the experience now on the Virtual Pin for me is really, really good, and I'm enjoying it heaps along with my real pinball, so that's definitely got to stay. The homemade main cab with the fridge is such a funny thing. This thing been hanging around for ages. I created a pretty good form factor with this machine, guys. I reckon it's sort of very similar to a Tempest style cab in terms of size and the shape of it. but it may even be a little bit smaller than that. There's still heaps of work to be done on it and stuff, and it's such a hack job anyway, but it fits a fridge in there, and the way I've got it set up with all the MAME games on there, you can play every MAME game you want to play, and it's just, it works. And I still haven't found like a real cab to put all the internals into, because that's what I'd like to actually do, is find like a real cabinet to stick all that stuff in. But at the moment I can't find one that's the same sort of shape. So for the moment it wins, and it's a triple screen setup. As I said, it's got the fridge in it, it's got to stay in the arcade, so it's going to stay. The next machine round is the single Daytona. Well, the single Daytona is absolutely awesome. It's an awesome game on its own, but of course it's even more awesome as a twin, and the intent was always to have the other Daytona in the arcade, guys, and that's been bothering me, that I've had just a single one and the other one has not been in here, but we'll get back to that. But the single Daytona has definitely got to stay. Now the Hankin cocktail, which was such a great restore, great pickup, that so cheap. It was covered in black paint and silver paint on the control panel, stripped all that off, redid the control panels in black, got all the beautiful wood grain back on the machine. It's just such a beautiful cocktail. It's got a massive, 20-inch for a cocktail, is very big, vertical orientation. It's the ultimate machine to sit head to head with a friend with a couple of beers and play Geno first, or any of the other flip games that in cocktail orientation flip over. It's just it's again a nice way to play the classics, and that machine is awesome. But the problem is, guys, in the arcade here, it takes up too much room. It's right in the center of this room. This room's small enough as it is, and I don't want to feel like I'm cramped in this space. So that's got to go, but it's got to go somewhere else. In terms of in the house, I want to keep it, so that's not going completely, but it needs to move. The next one round, the Grand Champion cockpit, is staying where it is. It's a classic that I still can't. I look at this machine all the time, guys. I can't believe I managed to pick this cab up for the price that I paid for it. Regardless of the fact that pole position 2 that was in it had been converted already, wasn't working. The fact now that I've converted it over to be fully PC, playable, playing all PC games and stuff, it's just awesome. It looks great, it's tucked away nicely, it's sort of cemented itself in the arcade room. It's staying, definitely. We go from there to the generic Fat Boy, LAI Fat Boy cab with a Raspberry Jammer in it, with a multi-MAME Raspberry Jammer basically. And I never really fixed that game up, guys. Look, I didn't even fix the buttons on it. It's like stuck in the arcade. It looks like a wreck, I must admit. And I sort of thought, well, it's a bit of a double up. I've got my main machine. I could also play on the Blast City. Even though Blast City is playing Tekken, I can switch it over to a Raspberry Jammer and have the horizontal orientation. So it really is a bit of a duplicate. It's a cool sort of cab, and I did have plans to, because of the way that the monitor is shaped and the control panel, to put maybe a golf game or something in there with a trackball. It would sort of work really well. It's quite a versatile cab, but again, guys, right now it has no place in the arcade and it needs to go. The next one along is the Hyper Olympic, and the Hyper Olympic for me, because it's in that red Tato cabinet, is still an absolute staple game that needs to stay in this arcade one way or the other. If it's got Hyper Olympic in it, or Original Defender, or Multi Williams, all of those options are fine with me, because they all have a special connection. And even the Multi Williams, going through and being able to play Joust as well as Defender and stuff. There's a lot of options with that, but that cabinet nostalgically has to stay in the arcade, so that's definitely got to stay here in one way, shape, or the other. Now the big one, guys, the Virtual Cop 2. And the journey that I had to go through to get that going. And I always thought, you know, as soon as I bought in the arcade and set it up, I thought, this is huge, this game is big. And in such a small room, it's just so imposing. But it is a classic game, guys. It is really, really a classic game. It may not be the most sort of family-friendly sort of game. I think a Point Blank is better for that. And for that reason, I felt, due to its size and perhaps that it wasn't quite as family friendly as I would like for my arcade, I've decided it has to go. That's hard for me to say, guys, because you guys who've been watching the previous episodes know what I've gone through to actually even just get that going. And I've played like played a handful of games on it, you know, literally, and to go through all of that trouble and expense and stress to get that game in here, you know, including removing all the doors and the door frames and stuff, even just to get squeezed into the arcade and to reverse all that to get it back out. That's crazy talk, but because it's, in my mind, it's the right thing to do. If I look at everything on balance, it doesn't have a place currently. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to sell it. It's an awesome machine, but it's got to go. Now the next one round is Space Invaders. If you watch the channel since the start, guys, you know that's not going anywhere. That's where it all started for me. So Spacies is staying in the arcade, nothing more to say. And that's it for inside the arcade. So going through that, you could hear there's a few machines that I want to get out of the arcade. I need to get them out somewhere. Now, that doesn't stop there, of course, because in my study, I had the Neo Geo, which I love, the little Neo Geo in a lowboy cab, fantastic form factor. It's got the multi SD, Neo SD in there, so I can play all the Neo Geo games. It's a great little cabinet. Definitely don't want to get rid of that. It's quite small in form factor, so it fits in tight spaces. So I've decided that I'd like to keep that and keep it in the study. It's a nice little go-to game when I'm rendering videos, for example, and waiting for the videos to render. I can hop on there and play some Neo Geo. So that's going to stay. I've also got the Tato basketball, and of course we've done a series on that. I remember I've got 2 of those cabs, and I've now got the combination of the best of both of those cabs into the one. It's a working cabinet. I can't believe it. 1974, right? Forget that, right? And you know, Pong variant. One of Tato's first Pong variants come out of Japan. It's just an awesome nostalgic, not nostalgic for me personally, but historical significance of that game is unbelievable, and the fact that it's in this cabinet that could be an alley Pong cabinet for all we know. I need to revisit that topic at some point, guys. And alley Pong was the first Tato Pong variant to come out of Japan. So yeah, there's a lot of history there. I want to keep that, and I'm going to keep it in the study. The other thing that was in the study though is the Sega Outrun, and guys, I have mentioned several times, I mean, I love Outrun. I've dreamed about owning that cabinet. Of course, it would have been great to have the full sit-down variant of it, but to have the stand-up. The stand-up was actually the variant that I played back in the day. That had such a big impact on me. And I want to keep that, but right now I don't want to keep it in the study. It's quite big, it's quite imposing. I don't want to get rid of it. And the other thing is that I'm halfway through not restoration, but just fixing the thing up. The monitors dead, the chassis dead on it. The game boards have been repaired by Joey at JoeMac. I haven't even tested them. I had to give them the whole harness to actually do that. So I've had a number of problems with it. And I want to get back to it. But for now, it doesn't actually have a place in the arcade because A, it's broken. It needs to be reset back up and tested, a new monitor and all the rest of it. There's a lot of work to be done there, and I don't want it sitting in the arcade broken. I don't want it taking up space in the in my study. So that needs to go, but it needs to be close to me so that I can continue working on it, and I can share that journey with you, getting that going. So that's the main games in the study. I do have the ice cold beer control panel hooked up to that really weird looking LAI cabinet, the big circular plastic dome thing. And again, there's no reason why I should have that cabinet in the house, guys. That's got to go as well. However, given half the chance, it would be great to have that ice cold beer operational again in the arcade. It's something that I do miss, guys, and a bit of a crowd favourite. Simple game. I was never keen on the small screen that I had. It had viewing issues from the side. So I think if I want to bring that and reincorporate that back into the arcade, it needs to be on a different monitor, or a different size monitor as well. So yeah, ice cold beer, resetting that back up in the arcade would be cool. Need to get rid of that weird cabinet though with the big circular head. It's got to go. Now we go from there, guys, out to the living room area. Doesn't stop. In the living room area, I had the Pleeds cocktail machine. This is a dedicated Pleeds cocktail, which it seems legit, but I don't know, it just seems like a bit of a mismatch. I haven't quite worked out the cabinet. It's a Tato style cocktail, but it's not. Doesn't seem to be genuine Tato. And around that time, you know, again with like the Logitech Space Invaders, which used like Tato sort of shaped hardware and stuff for their cocktails, there may have been some other companies doing similar things. And you know, I don't profess to be an expert across all the different cocktail variations. You know, Nintendo did their own ones. They're quite different though. In terms of shape and style, you can pick them pretty quickly. But this one really does look like a Tato cocktail. But it's not, I don't think. And anyway, it's playing Pleeds. Pleeds is a great game, don't get me wrong. But again, for me right now, with everything that I have, it just doesn't have a place. It doesn't have a place in the arcade. And it doesn't have a place out in the living room. It's not something that casual gamers that come over in the living room area, you know, maybe to shoot a bit of pool, and sit down and play Pleeds specifically. So that's got to go. Moving around from the Pleeds cocktail, we've got the Logitech Space Invaders cocktail, which I've already mentioned, and that definitely has to stay, guys. That's it was one of the first machines that I played Space Invaders on. Not that actual machine, of course, that I own now, but one just like it back in the day. So nostalgically, that's huge for me, and I need to keep it. But I don't want it out there in the living area. It's nostalgic for me, not really for my family or other people that visit. So it needs to move. It needs to move out of the living area. The next thing I have out there is the fake Sega Blast. And I thought originally that might be quite popular as a general, game to play out there in the living room area. But it's a fairly big, bulky cab. Don't get me wrong though, it's a great cab and it's a great substitute for a real Sega Blast. Has a lot of benefits. I've gone through that previously, but at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't serve a purpose for me out there. It doesn't get used as much as I'd like it to, and it's a big machine and you can spot it pretty quickly. So I don't think it has a space in the living room. It certainly doesn't have the space back in the arcade because it's a double up on my real Sega Blast. So guys, that's got to go too. Now when I bought the Firepower pinball, I had nowhere else to put it, so that Firepower has also been out in the living room next to the 8-ball Champ pinball. Makes a lot of noise, Firepower, and well, 8-ball Champ does as well, but you know what I mean. Firepower's got some pretty strong through that good old Defender sound system from Williams. So I do love Firepower, guys. There's absolutely no doubt about it. That's a game that I've always actually said that I love. It's right up there. I think on my virtual pinball tables, when I was talking about those, it was right up the top. Certainly the top of all the oldest games. And I need it in the arcade. So I need to get that out of the living room area and into the arcade. Now, 8-ball champ, guys, will stay in the living room area. Interestingly, casual pinball playing on that will work well, and it works well with the theme around a real pinball table. I actually really like it out there. It's got some pretty, big marking down the side in terms of 8-ball champ, which I don't think looks great. So, but I put a cover just over the main table area during the day, and that serves two purposes actually. It covers the graphics, and then it also covers it and protects it from sunlight coming through the window. I need to get that tinted actually, that window. But regardless, it's a nice game there, and I think for social, just casual play, not hardcore arcade gaming, it's actually a nice thing to have a pinball machine like that around by the pool table. But guys, it doesn't end there. I step outside, and out on our deck area outside has been half of it, not half of it, but a good portion of it has been taken up with the other Daytona machine, which has been sitting out there in parts. I'd started dismantling the seats because my intention was to take that thing and strip it down completely and build it back up, completely sort of restore it. But that's going to take a long time. And again, I'll do a separate video on that Daytona machine itself, and just rebuilding it to get it back operational is hard enough, let alone going through doing a full restore on it. So that's something we'll revisit. But right at this time when I was assessing everything, I just thought that Daytona has to get it back in the arcade. It's got to get next to the other one. Twin Daytona racing is so much fun. I always thought that it was the only way to do Daytona, but I've learned that single Daytona is huge fun on its own. But when you do twin, it just it doubles it. It doubles the fun. Even more so, I think, but it just really makes the game. So that definitely has to come inside to the arcade and be fixed up and working. From the deck into the garage, guys, and into the garage I have my second Tato basketball. I still can't believe I got two of those Tato basketballs, but I got a second one that's sitting in the garage, effectively sort of in a storage location in there. I've got my championship sprint is also covered up in there. I've got another mystery game in there that I've always said that I was going to bring out one day, just haven't been able to do it. So there's that cabinet. And I've got this Lowboy shell, which I've just picked up as a bargain one day earlier on in my collecting, when I thought that I might, build it up into some, basic Lowboy machine, but I just haven't got back to it, guys. So it's just been getting in the way. I hop out of my car, try and get into the house. I'm edging past it. My wife is too, and the kids. It's just like, what am I doing with that cabinet here? What is it, I don't want to throw it out though. Someone could restore it and recover it and make it good again. So I don't want to throw it. I don't want to throw it right now. I don't want to sell it right now because it's just the time involved to do that. So it's a keeper, but I don't want it in the garage. So that has to go somewhere. And the last thing is out in my shed. I've got the Virtual Cop 2, the deluxe version. Remember, I picked up the deluxe to get the extra board set to fit into the stand-up that I had. And the deluxe unit, the stand-up where all the gun holsters get, where you put your guns. I kept that box. Of course, we got rid of the big rear projection TV and it was stuffed, but I kept the main unit. And that unit actually takes up the space of a regular arcade, can you believe? But it's like half the height. And it's been sitting in the shed, taking up a good part of the walking space to get in there and just getting in the way. Again, another thing that I don't want to throw away. I could use maybe later in some capacity, but it can't stay in the house, guys. So that also has to go. So if you look at all of that, I've actually got 26 video cabinets around the house. And our house is a normal sized house, guys. It's not a huge house. That's too many, right? And I've got 4 pinball machines, so all in all that's 30 cabinets. 30 cabinets around the house. So guys, that's when it came to me, and I just thought, you know what, I need to rationalize, I need to focus, I need to home in on exactly on what's important in my ultimate arcade, and I need some solution to deal with all of these excess machines that I don't want to sell, I don't want to junk, I certainly don't want to throw out. So what can I do? So yes, I have turned to that guy, the storage unit guy. It just extends the problem, doesn't it, really? But for me, guys, I sort of thought, you know, this is a nice way to just clear it all out. And not only that, guys, I've got other stuff, other boxes of stuff I've collected over the years, and you're tripping over the stuff all the time. You know, we're a family of 6, you know, 4 kids, myself, my wife, and you know, and again, not in a massive house or anything. And the space is precious. And when you trip over that stuff day in and day out, and when you see like broken machines and busted stuff day in and day out, and you're navigating around it, the stress, not the stress is the wrong word. I guess it's just that there's just a sense of everything being cumbersome, you know, and just not clean and practical. And so it came to a head, guys. I thought, I've got to get a storage unit, and I can tell you what, guys, it's been a godsend. So I got an 18 square meter unit. And I've taken a good majority of the machines that I just talked through that I don't want in the house but I want to keep to that storage unit, and I've taken a lot of other boxes and stuff of other stuff that I don't want to throw out but I want to keep to the storage unit. And it's just given me so much space, and of course, and not just space literally, but space in my head. Now I can pick and choose the exact machines that I want without thinking, oh, I've got to keep that, I've got to keep this, where am I going to put it, and encroaching on other areas of the house. So, you know, I know storage units aren't that cheap, but they're not expensive comparatively either. And in my mind, all I've done is I've rationalized it off as just, you know, an extension to the mortgage. That's really all it is. It's an extra payment as part of the mortgage payment. If our interest rates were higher, we'd probably be paying that amount anyway. So, you know, to me, the peace of mind and being able to do what I've now been able to do has been so worth it. And, you know, I've got a maintenance cost. I've got a maintenance cost for this hobby. But again, it's not just this hobby. There's, you know, as I said, I've cleared out a lot of other stuff, personal things as well, which just didn't make sense to have hanging around the house, guys. So, as you can probably imagine, all of this has required a massive amount of movement. If you think about just moving, you know, 1 or 2 machines, and guys, if you own machines, you know what I'm talking about. You just need to move 1 or 2 around. Can you imagine moving out, you know, 10, 11 machines and shipping them off individually to storage, back and forward? The sheer size and weight of them, navigating them through the house, shifting everything else around, sorting through all your other stuff and trying to work out what needs to stay and what doesn't need to stay, guys. It's been a massive, massive undertaking. So guys, with all of that, let's now have a look at the new arcade, and then I'll quickly run through the room and let you know why I have chosen what I've chosen and the new setup. And going forward, guys, this is it. We're getting so close now to at least the structure and the format of this arcade to be my ultimate arcade. And thanks again for everyone that has joined me thus far, but there's so much more to do and so much more adventures and fun to be had. So let's kick in and take a look at what I've done. Okay guys, let me give you a quick insight into the changes that I've made. So here we have the championship sprint. As I said, this is a absolute beast. There are things that I want to do to this still, and I think it's a better solution than the super sprint. It just takes up too much room with those three steering wheels. The two wheels are great and fantastic to have that sitting here in the arcade. We have my main box that I was talking about with the fridge. Now this main box also supports triple screens, so it has the main screen, has a small screen for the marquees, which is dynamic depending on the game that's being chosen, and it also has a third screen which is normally on here where the ice cold beer is now set up, and great to have the ice cold beer back in here, but I can switch inputs, so to get the third screen, and there we go. So now we have the third screen for the main machine, so I can switch between that and ice cold beer as I please, which is a nice little feature of the setup. However, having ice cold beer back again, and of course on this much bigger screen, is absolutely awesome. Set up as I had it before. It's actually running on an Apple Mac Pro, funnily enough, left over from my editing workstation when I moved to a Mac Pro, and that's running ice cold beer. Probably a bit of an overkill for that, although it does still tend to struggle with the way that I've got it set up, so I've still got a few things to do there. But anyway, it's a great way to use this space, because on this side here we've got the pinball machines as you saw, and starting off with firepower, which you know I picked up and I had some problems with. Yes guys, it is all working. We'll do another video on some of the fixes that happened to get this guy going. And there's just a little bit of space here behind here. If you move that stall out of the way and you want to, you know, really get into playing some pinny, you need some space there. So I couldn't put a full-size cabinet with the ice cold beers anyway. So it actually worked out really well, just to create that little shelf for the control panel, plenty of room to play firepower. Now guys, with the pinball, yes, 3 pinball machines, 1 virtual, at least in here. We've still got the other pinball 8-ball champ out in the living room area. But for me, and now this new format, I felt, you know, penny is the way to go in terms of just having fun in the arcade. It really is. A good balance of pinball as well as video machines is the way to go. I think I was too many video machines previously, so this is a good balance, and I feel that as long as I've got 3 spaces here for pinball machines, maybe they'll swap in and out with different machines over time, but for now I've got the footprint for 3, and that's perfect for me. And of course one of those is the visual pinball tables. And guys, as I said, there's some things that I've done on here that just makes this stuff so much more fun. We'll get back to that another day. And Daytonas, guys, next to it. This was the intention, always to get these Daytonas in here, with all the light show stuff going on around them. But at the end of the day, twin Daytonas. Yes, I got that one working from outside. It was a huge effort, good 3 days worth of work. I actually didn't film the work that I did to get the second white guy going, but guys, I will come back to it and talk about it, and we'll go through the machine so you can understand what I did do, and hopefully get something out of that as well. It was just a massive undertaking, and I just couldn't film everything as I made all these changes, otherwise it just would have taken way too long. So twin Daytonas, guys, so good. Linked. It's been absolutely so much fun. Coming around to the back room here, where we see we've got the Astro City and the Sega the Sega Blast City next to each other there, nicely in the middle. It's really convenient now to sit there and play those games. Still some more things to do on the Blast City. You've got to get the double control panel in there, and also be able to swap over to a multi-jammer for a lot of the horizontal games that I want to play. Big space now in the middle where we have some new orange carpet, actually relocated from another part of the house, but still. And of course the the Hankin cocktail machine is gone, and that's now in the living room area, which is a better place for it. We've still got the Hyper Olympic in the corner, and that's goes nicely on the other side with Space Invaders, which of course is staying here. Then of course we've got the beautiful OLED screen, and currently playing the virtual arcade, and new retro arcade it's called. And of course you can play all the PC games and whatnot through that. It's got a double image through into the Grand Champion cabinet, so as I'm playing racing games, that can show in here. Of course the big difference in the screen quality, non-OLED, OLED with the blacks, very, very different. This was an ultra wide screen in here. This has got to go at some point anyway. Probably will be changed with an IPS sort of widescreen, is what I'm thinking of. But bottom line is that this cabinet is staying here and can play all my PC driving games and emulated driving games as well, guys. And then of course we've got all the 8-bit stuff from the VCS days and the Atari 8-bit coming down to the PlayStation and other things that I've also, other consoles that I have actually emulated as well. And guys, yes, that is 1:37 in the morning. So that's how busy it has been for me lately. And I thought, nah, I'm going to get this video done for you guys so that you can see what's been going on. Because yeah, this has been a monumental change. And guys, I am so happy with this. The setup is awesome. The Daytona playing twin is great. Playing these pinballs, they're all working. Yes, I'll revisit them, guys. I'll let you know what I did to get some of these things going, because I know I left you in a state where these things weren't going. But that's what I've been doing, guys. It's just been flat out busy. I've just put my mind to it, got it done, and wow, I am so happy now that I have this footprint of machines, you know, the right amount, for me anyway, the right amount of video machines, right amount of pinball, the key drivers. It's a nice balance, and I feel so much better in getting all this done. So that's it, guys. Here's your update. This is what I've been doing. I have not been sitting on my laurels. It has been busy, and I hope you enjoy this and all the things that we're going to be doing going forward, because I think we've just now got started. So there you go, guys. That is the new arcade. I am 100% happy with it. I hope you can see and understand why I've made all those changes now, and why I've been a little bit quiet recently. It's just because the sheer amount of work that's gone in to get in this place to where it is today, and I'm very happy. So kicking on now, we will continue this journey, of course. And if you're a subscriber, again, thank you so much for subscribing and joining along. And if you're not, please consider subscribing. There's a lot of fun coming up. A lot of different things always in Spacies Arcade. So I really do look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And until then, guys, so many cool games now that I have to play, and I sure as hell am going to go back and get into some Daytona for a start. Those damn $1, $2 coin things, don't need that, guys. I just need, back in the day, you know, some 20s. All I need is some 20s, right? So, hey, you got a 20.
And fight like a robot.